Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell out before you blow up a plane.
Basha K. Ali!
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what, good thing to say, I dabbled in stand-up for something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean.
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. You can hear this podcast, gosh, we're everywhere. iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Rumble, Rockfin, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook even. So please subscribe on YouTube if you are watching us right now on the YouTubes. I am crawling towards 100K. I'm going to get there. Guys. And when I do, woo boy, you're not going to hear the end of it. So please subscribe, all the things. Excited to get back on the road, working on some gigs as we speak. Excited to get back out there and stand up. Before I bring in our fabulous guest, who I am obsessed with, we have a quick word from our sponsor. That's right. I have a sponsor, guys. It's the Great U.S. Treasure Hunt. It's like a scavenger hunt. This little video here is going to tell you all about it. Hit it.
Great U.S. Treasure Hunt. We've delivered winners from all over the U.S., awarding thousands in prize money. We've hidden 10 coins in public. And for the first time, we give the clues to their exact location in a comic book format. 10 states, 10 coins, 10 clues, $10,000. One comic book. The Great U.S. Treasure Hunt. The hunt begins October 15th. Order now. thegreatustreasurehunt.com.
Wow. What is the Great U.S. Treasure Hunt? I'm going to tell you. The Great U.S. Treasure Hunt returns in 2024 with $10,000 in prizes up for grabs. They've hidden 10 coins in 10 states, and the clues to their exact location are in a comic book, much like this, which mails today, October 22nd. How exciting. Order now with promo code CMP to save $5 off any package. Go to thegreatustreasurehunt.com for full details. You can team up with people across the country, and you can one person could be the solver, one person could be the finder of the coin, and then you just split the prize money. Coins are hidden, not buried, so you don't need a shovel or a metal detector or anything like that. And there are clues in this comic book. There's puzzles and there's illustrations, so you can use them both together to solve the location. And the Great U.S. Treasure Hunt has given away over 40 grand in the past. And this year they're going to give away at least $10,000 more. The coins are similar to challenge coins. So they're like thicker and they've got a unique serial number on them. All books will be mailed via first class mail today, October 22nd, but there's no guarantee what day that will arrive to you. That depends on your local post office. But obviously, if you're listening to this after October 22nd, you can still join in. No clues will be released on the website, YouTube, or any other social media for at least 2 months. So solve the puzzles in the book, partner with someone to find the coin, and enjoy that sweet, sweet victory and that sweet moolah. Go to thegreatustreasurehunt.com. Okay. So excited she's here. Our guest today, she's a fellow mom, which I love. And I mean, you know her, you love her. If you haven't heard her famous Kamala Harris impression, you've been living under a rock. Okay. Welcome to the show, Estee Palti.
Thank you for having me, Chrissy.
You look like you're currently in the White House with that.
I know.
It looks very presidential wherever you are.
My husband is a little bougie. So when we did our renovations, he just went for that look. The classic And I told him, like, this is not happening anymore. We're not Eastern European, Victorian house, but he wasn't having it. He's very bougie. So I like to record like that, like just right behind one of my walls at home. It's the best way.
That's what really, like, because on StreamYard or whatever, wherever you're streaming, or Zoom, sometimes they have the fake backgrounds,
Yes.
and they should really offer that up. Like, just make me look
Yeah, I
somewhere
should collaborate with them, honestly. I should just tell them, hey, listen,
like,
pay me.
just
You
look
can
like
use
this.
any friggin' wall in my house. Go ahead, go for it.
What does your husband think of all your, kind of would we say viral success, attention?
It's overwhelming for him. I spoke about this a little bit on another podcast. He's more on the quiet, reserved side. He's not vocal at all on social media. He's very much like a private person. So when I started, he didn't think anything was really going to come out of it. I was just goofing around because I'm a goofball. And now he's just more like, listen, have fun with it. If you really want to see where this goes, see where it goes. I support you. Just don't forget about me. Don't forget about my needs. And it's a compromise. I'm being fully transparent with the people that are listening. I can't get on the road. I'm not going to drop him and 3 of my children, and it's not an option for me personally to like yank them out of their habitat and just stick them on a tour bus. It's just not our lifestyle. It's not our culture. So I do things that I can do. I kind of figured it out for myself. I do some stuff for iHeartRadio. It's a lot of remote stuff. I do some interviews, and even if I do like stuff like Gutfeld, I'm in New York City, so that's feasible, but I'm taking it one day at a time, just telling him like, relax. I'm not like an A-lister. This is not gonna, upend the family or anything like that. So he just says
Aw.
like, keep it in tune with like the priorities of life, and I'm behind you.
Wow, but don't let him forget, like, look, the people, everyone's scratching at my door. They want me out there. The people want to see me.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Estee, give us your origin story. Maybe you've given it 1,000 times on different
No, it's okay. I
podcasts,
don't
but
mind.
how did and before we were recording, you were telling me you still work a day job.
Yeah,
You're kind of in
yeah.
the medical industry, which I love because there's no shame in having a day job. My God, it's for people who think like the percentage of people who do comedy who are able to make their full living on stage or at clubs, it's so small that most of us have to do a myriad of other things to make a full income. So
Yeah, people don't
I was
realize it's not as lucrative as you think. It
no.
is lucrative, but it's not consistent. That's for sure. I've had bad months, I've had good months, maybe, and there are some times where I sit there and I say, "Hey, if I devoted 100,000% to this, I'll definitely be able to make a living out of it." Yeah, you will, but it's also a job. So I'm speaking on it from a adult perspective. I have 3 children to feed. I need that consistent income. I need the insurance. It's really like every American. I'm middle class. We keep
You really are from a middle class
yeah,
family.
we're really, we like to keep our lawns green. So yeah, that's what I have to do. But I'll tell you like this, Chrissy, and I'm not hoping for it. That's why I still have my day job. I like what I do. I'm a nurse, but I work remotely. I'm in administration, so it's a little bit of a tedious job. It's just a lot of paperwork, but it's preventative healthcare, and I'm very passionate about that. Because my father passed away from cancer, and it was completely preventable. So I do a job
Wow.
that I'm very passionate about, that I love. It very much aligns with my values of like, we need to take care of our health. We need to know what goes inside our bodies. So in that sense, I'm okay with still, being a nurse. I'm not breaking my back in a hospital like I used to. Like the healthcare here is just not, it's not for nurses. Nurses are like the slaves of healthcare. And kudos to all the nurses that still do it. We need you guys. It couldn't be me. I did it for 2.5 years, and I was like, I can't, like, this is insane.
Wow.
I can't do this. It's a very
What were your
heavy unit.
shifts like? What kind of nurse were you?
So I was a telemetry nurse. So I was in a cardiac unit. So it was a pretty, intense unit in the sense of like, when you have emergencies, you got to make sure those heart monitors are on. You got to hear them. I'll never forget the first time, and I worked night shift my first year. I was told like, you don't have an option. It has to be done. And I had a 1-year-old at home. So I was
Oh,
fresh out of grad school, working a night shift with my 1-year-old. And I'll never forget my first time off orientation. And there's like this, you'll appreciate this as a comedian. So there's this like moment of time that the telemetry technician, which is the guy that's watching all the heart rate, monitors across the entire floor. So there's like
the telemetrist. Do we call them the telemetrist?
Yeah, the telemetry tech. So every time they go to lunch, the nurses alternate because the monitors have to be looked at all times. So for the most part, I was still very new. I knew what I was looking at, but also not really. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, there was a bunch of screens in front of me. There's all this beeping. I just knew the basics of like flatline, not good. Like beeping
Right.
going off, not good. So at one point I was sitting there like 15 minutes into it. I was kind of nervous, but I'm like on my phone scrolling, like nothing's happening. Nothing eventful usually happens. That's a rarity. And all of a sudden one of the screens just goes flat and you hear all the alarms. I run out like a bat out of hell trying to alert. And we have like a, intercom where I'm like, rapid response. Like I was freaking out. This is my first like real, like, oh my God, I'm responsible for this. And I run into the room and it was like the Jamaican nursing assistant that was standing there with the leads in her hand and the guy was taking a shit. And she's like, go back to the room. Like,
she's like, Estee, man, why you got your panties in a bunch?
What you doing, man? You're waking up my patients, man.
What you doing, man? I'm scrolling
and I was like,
on
oh my
TikTok.
God. Like, so that amount of stress, multiple times a shift, I felt like my cortisol was here. And by the time I got home, I'll be honest with you, my husband would be like, can you warm up my dinner? I'm exhausted. And I'm like, can you go fuck yourself? I just got spit and shit on.
I'll sit on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a very testy time. I'm just the kind of person, I gave my all to my patients. And the best part of the job was making them laugh. I love to shoot the shit with them. I love to talk to the families, calm them down. And that was genuinely my favorite part, with like, talking shit with the doctors, talking shit with the nurses, making friends everywhere. It was a good, like, nice camaraderie that we had amongst one another. But besides that, all the stress that it brought me, I was just like, there has to be a better way. Like, this is really tough on the mental aspect of it, not just the physical. So the job that I decided to do was remote, kind of boring. I still needed that spice, so when COVID rolled around and I was watching all these lip syncs and they were just like hysterical. Like we were going to kill each other. Me and my husband were like stuck for the first time ever after 10 years together with 3 kids, very young. 2 of mine were under 2, the last ones. And it's like a pandemic. You can't leave the house and you have these 2 screaming toddlers. So I downloaded TikTok just to keep myself, sane, in the evenings. And it was really funny. I just started doing like a bunch of different videos. A lot of it was skit comedy. I loved, like, so first of all, I'm very good at lip syncing. Let's just, one of my talents that Kamala Harris's attention kind of swallowed whole is that I'm really, really good at lip syncing and I'm very expressive with my face.
People really forget that. They focus on the Kamala impression.
Yeah, it's unfortunately my brand now, but I'll rebrand the shit out of that in 2 weeks. Or I'll become a millionaire in 2 weeks. We shall see.
Right. Do you want Kamala to win?
Everyone asks me that, and that's what I was getting back to, like, to make a full circle. That's why I still have my day job. I hope she doesn't, because I'd rather not see the world around me perish, and I'm making money on social media. Like, that's also still temporary. I want my kids to not grow up in a communist country that I ran away from. I very much want Donald Trump to win. This has been great. It's been a great opportunity. Don't get me wrong. But I'm realistic. I still will continue it. I still will see where it goes. I'll see, I've built these channels and it's not just going to go away. Like I told my husband, like, listen, I'm still going to go a different direction. I still have a social media presence. It's not like Kamala's not the only thing I can probably pull out of my ass. I could probably
if you can master her voice, there's probably a lot of people that you can do really well.
Yeah, and I started messing with it just for shits and giggles. And he's like, "Why are you picking the most annoying characters to like terrorize me with?" So I started telling him, somebody else told me that I sound like Janice from Friends, and I'm like, "Oh my God, it's Chandler Bing." And he's like, "No, that's worse. I'd rather the Kamala." So everything is up in the air. So we'll see. I want to still keep my job just because it's consistent. Yeah. It's there. It's a safe option. It's a safety net at the end of the day. But I'm very good with the work ethic. I know how to, finesse the job, be able to do this without it imposing on my job. So it's been hard. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't have time for TV. I don't have time to socialize, but that's the sacrifice. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I remember I always had at least one day job and, was working in something up until like 2021. As people know, I got fired because I wouldn't get vaccinated. Do you feel like in the day jobs, you have to kind of like hold back who you are? And particularly now that you've had all the success and would be very recognizable, do you feel like there's still people you can't really become too friendly with and let them know too much about you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't hide who I am. I'm very like my pages are all public. I do work with people on the other side of the political spectrum. I think it's to my advantage that I work remote, because I think if I was seen a lot more, they'd be like, "Yo, you look familiar."
Hello.
So none of them actually know, like I don't think, like a couple of people at my job know, like my friends, they kind of approached me because I didn't, it's not that I kept it a secret, I omitted it. So like at the last, I remember summer party, one of the people like I've been working with for like the past 5 years, she came up to me, she's like, do you want to fucking explain yourself as to why I found out you have a private life like on social media and you're a fucking megastar? And we all had no idea. And I told her like, don't
Good.
announce this here. I don't want it to be like
Right.
this big thing because it will be a problem then.
It
And
all leads to your demise. Every
It
day
will.
job I've had,
It
the
will.
more they've known about me in comedy, the worse it gets for me, and the sooner I'll be fired.
Exactly. So I mean, right now I've kind of been like, okay, listen, thank God. I mean, the people in my department know, and thank God I work with like genuinely respectable people, but I've always maintained to get my job done. I've never, like I don't do the social media like during working hours. I also have a flexible schedule. It's not always like a 9 to 5 working hours. But, it's kind of like the atmosphere of like, as long as it doesn't, get in the way of what I'm doing at work, or I'm not talking about my job anywhere on social media. You know what I mean? I don't post about it at all. It's strictly comedy page.
Yep. That's
So
smart.
far it's been okay. I mean, it won't be that way forever though. I'm very realistic about where I'm headed. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But if I do lose the job, okay, I'll get another one. Lucky for me, nurses are very high in demand. So
Yeah. So you went to nursing school. Did you always want to be a nurse or be in the medical industry?
I did want to always help people. I always knew that this is something that I'm going to be in. I honestly can kick myself because my parents used to tell me like, there's nothing wrong with being a nurse. Like my mom is a nurse. My mom is still a cardiac nurse, but I was like, I want to do what you're doing because we came to this country. We were really poor. We were immigrants. I was like 4 years old. So she was like barely able to get on her feet. They
Where are
did
you
that
from?
for us. I'm Russian.
Okay.
I'm from Tajikistan, which is Central Asia, but we left when the USSR collapsed, basically. And I just kind of like did it because it was like, okay, like, this is the path that I know. Like if my parents were more educated here, maybe they would have pushed me to something else. But my mom was telling me like, why don't you become a doctor? Why don't you do this? And I just didn't want to deal with the school. I had a big problem with like the way they were in the undergrad. Like there were 60 credits that I was taking that had nothing to do with anything I wanted to do in life. So I'm like,
That's
why am I in
hard
this
for you? Yeah.
anthropology class? Like I am, and that's just my nature. Like I don't mean to be rebellious, but like, when you know something is wrong, that's when I also started my research. When I was like, yo, we really are being indoctrinated. Like we're learning the wrong thing. And even in nursing school, I can tell you right now, oh my God, when I started working as a nurse, like the pieces started clicking. Like, so hold on a second. This is basically a game of trial and error. Let's see what works for this guy. If he gets sicker the next day, oh, don't do that. We're going to take away that medication. We're going to replace it with another one. There's also all these side effects that
Everyone's a guinea pig.
Everyone is a guinea pig. And I was very passionate about being an advocate. I made it so personal that like I would get written up. I'd be like to a doctor, there's something better for this patient. I know we can do better than this. And he'd be like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, this is not you. This is
Wow.
above your pay grade. Not in those specific words, but the hospital setting teaches you very quickly that there is a mafia here. Administration is the mafia and big pharma are the distributors of whoever the mafia is working for, because we are to dispense what they tell us to, not what the patient is probably going to react better from.
Wow.
And I think everything in the world now has exposed itself to being that, and I think like that's why I'm so comfortable with Bobby Kennedy being behind Trump. So, while I am doing this,
you sound like your Maha for sure.
exactly, but like, so when I was doing that, like my soul wasn't in it either. It's not even about the job being like grating on you physically and mentally. I was like, yo, this is wrong. We're not helping these people. We're slapping Band-Aids on them. And, it just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And that's when I really felt like everywhere where I am now, maybe the world is like the universe has pushed me into this direction because I wasn't really content with what I chose to do with a profession. Like I was like, and you also realize you're smarter than half the residents. Like you just realize when you get there, you're like, wait a second.
And I'm sure the male doctors love that. They love someone like you chiming in with suggestions. Yeah.
No, yeah, they don't. I mean, thank God I worked on a very good unit with a very, very like motherly nurse manager who was very much like us. But as soon as she left, everything changed. We had like a puppet, you could say, basically, who wanted us to do exactly what they said that we should be doing. And when that happened, it was kind of like, that was like, okay, like we all stayed for her because she actually had our back. Now it doesn't even make sense because now you're just fed to the wolves. Like the family's mad at you. The doctor's yelling at you. The pharmacy's not getting their stuff in time. Everything is like, you're being blamed for doing your job. And it just becomes so
Wow.
like, it's thankless. You know, it's a thankless job. I commend every nurse listening. You know, God bless you guys. We need you. Don't listen to me, but I just couldn't do it anymore.
That seems like even when you're doing your best, you still probably feel so stifled and scared most of the time because it's like
Yeah, and
it's
when
something
you do
get
help a patient or like you pull them out of a bad situation and they're alive and you sign them out and the families just gives you that hug and they actually thank you, those are the moments you say, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Sadly, we had more bad moments than moments like that. You know what I mean? So
wow.
it was just one of those things. It's like you kind of, after a certain period of time, you're like, this is an abusive relationship almost. You know what I mean? You're just getting pat on the head sometimes. Like my friends that worked during COVID, they got fucking pizza parties.
I was gonna
After that,
say, did you learn choreography? Were you part of the pots and pans era?
I didn't, I wasn't a nurse already at that time. Thank God, because I don't think I would have survived it. But some of my friends have some serious PTSD. They worked over at Elmhurst and the body bags with the freezer trucks, it
Whoa.
really, really, really messed them up. And like they even tell me like well, they'll never forget that moment when they walked back onto the unit. Administration wanted to talk to everybody and they were like, you're gonna get a pizza party for all your hard work. She was like, what?
A pizza party? What are we, 6?
Yeah, like they're getting all these kickbacks. Obviously, every COVID patient, we know the insurance paid out to the hospitals. So it
Wow.
exposed itself for really the dirty mafia job that it was. And the nurses that gave that care, intubated those patients, body bagged them. Ultimately, some of them felt very responsible. Like, why didn't I question this? Why was this? Why did we do this to these people? You know,
Why did we question the ventilators? Like, why was that the default setting?
yep, you know, so that's what that is.
That is so eye-opening that you got an inside look at the medical industry, and now, I mean, you sound like pretty based, you know, you're voting for Trump, you have a good head on your shoulders. I feel like it's very similar to my experience where I, like, for years worked on the inside of, the entertainment industry and, like, just saw, yeah,
Yeah, you see a little bit
all
and you
these people
realize.
are Democrat. I feel
Mhm.
like I'm kinda working for the enemy in a sense, and then, I guess it was fate or destiny that I was not, and I always felt I'm not meant to work in these jobs my whole life, but you do what you gotta do because you need the insurance and you gotta pay rent. So, but I'm happy to have the insight. I'm happy to like have seen the inner workings of that world. So, was Kamala the first impression that you really honed in on? Were you doing comedy prior to this?
No, I was just doing the skit comedy, very low production videos. Like I said, just to kind of grow a base, see what's gonna happen. I wasn't even making money at that time, nothing, like not even from views, just for fun, you know, keeping the community laughing. And then I had made a video. I remember it was about the Will Smith slap. I remember that was like it was just like me talking because I didn't do many of those. And my followers were always like, who are you? We want to, you know, we want to know who you are. I'm like, okay, let me just, you know, hop on here like everyone else does. And one of my followers was like, you sound like Kamala Harris sometimes. And I replied to his
Wow.
comment, and then I just attempted the impression, and then that video blew up, and then it just kind of like began from there. That's it.
Wow. And that
Very,
your
very
first
generous.
attempt was on TikTok?
Yeah, the first attempt was on TikTok. I pinned it actually. I have like a ridiculous haircut over there too. It says it's like 3.3 or 3.4 million views, but that was the first one, and it's me saying like Kamala Harris speaks in a very significant tone or something like that. It wasn't even that good of an impression. It was like a freaking 20-second video. But from there, I just kind of honed in on it and I started doing it over and over again, listening to her. And I crafted it. I believe mastered it at this point.
But it was good enough. Let me pull up your TikTok because I am not on TikTok. I don't know. I think I just judged it right away. I was like, I don't want the Chinese up in my business, but
It's the
probably
third
should have.
one. Yeah, I know. I feel you.
Is it
Listen.
this one here?
Yeah.
Ooh. Do, 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 do. And of course, there's no volume because I am a technical
Okay.
genius.
She Kamala Harris speaks in a more condescending tone. Okay. She says a lot of things without saying a lot of things. There's usually a laugh involved. I don't know where the laugh comes in. Kamala Harris
That was
speaks in
it.
a more
It's so
condescending
funny to
Yes,
me.
and this is without you doing a lot of research, I guess. You just were like,
Nothing. That was just
how'd
me
that
like taking
go?
a whack at it. Yeah.
And this pinned one here, wow, is this your most viewed one, 10 million
Oh,
right
that
there.
one and that too, like just standing in the kitchen drinking coffee and turned on my camera. I'm like, let me just make something funny. And that's the most viewed video. Like not the ones that I work on,
I'll
but
be
these are the
running
ones that
for
go.
president
It
of
is
the
good though.
United States. And we have states. And they're united.
This is
Because think about it.
actually so perfect because of
States should
that
be
your house looks
united.
presidential. It's so perfect for these
And all
videos.
states
It really
know.
is.
Well, they have a president to preside over them. Oh, that's good. And think about everything that we see
Wow.
and that we haven't seen yet in order to reside and live in those states. But the question stands,
Damn.
who will unite these United States? I'm good.
Holy shit. Oh my God. Wowie, wowie, wowie. So what was your process like for really like, because you obviously, did some work between your first attempt and what you do now. What was your process like?
So I've always kind of been sort of a mimic, I want to say. When I was on the Megyn Kelly show, I talked about this. And I'm very good with auditory, like memory. So I just started listening to her. That's kind of how I'm good with the lip syncs. And I don't miss like a breath. I don't miss it. So I started listening. Like I heard the voice quivering sometimes. I also heard that her cackle took like different octaves. So when I started doing just skits on my own as Kamala, the laugh was still very like high pitched. It wasn't as good, but then Rebel News reached out to me. Like shout out to him. He's so amazing. Ezra Levant. He was so sweet. He was like my first grandpa in entertainment. And he's like, listen, I love what you're doing. Like we'll help you. Like we'll push out the videos for you. We'll help you with the editing, make it look, nicer. And just that practice that, they provided like, skit after skit, the more I did it, the more it just kind of started, becoming its own character. So for the, in the beginning, I did just verbatim her speeches, like word for word. People can like laugh at how similar I sound to her. And then I started getting snarkier with it because I'm snarky myself. So once I felt confident in just, in speaking like her and, saying whatever the hell I want, now it's a different story. And if you really think about what she does with her face and, what she does with her hands and how she tries to, right? Yeah. So just watching her over and over again, and she really does these repetitive things, like, these mannerisms. I'd say just put them together. And like I said, once I got confident with the voice and with her inflection, with her cadence, the laugh, especially once I nailed the laugh, I was kind of able to really expand on the character.
Because the laugh is really like 70% of her. Because
Yeah.
she just, what do you think you've learned about Kamala as a person just from studying her, watching her as many hours as you have?
She's very fake. When she's cornered. I remember like the Brett Baer interview really showed how like she does not even let you get a word out. I personally believe, and this is just my opinion, she displays a lot of narcissistic qualities. She really genuinely thinks she's the only person in the room. She's almost so disconnected because whenever she's laughing, nobody's laughing with her. And she's very disingenuous. I was saying ingenuine for the longest time on these podcasts, by the way. It's so embarrassing. But disingenuous is the correct term, apparently.
People know what you mean.
I'm sure.
I make up words sometimes.
Yeah, I'm just like, I talk too fast for my own good. That's why that happens. But disingenuous, like and I'm also good with energy. Like I'm just very transparent. That's my personality. If anything, why I would be horrible like on live radios, because I'll be that person that says something I wasn't supposed to say or whatever it is, because I kind of sometimes speak without really needing to think about it before, because what you see is what you get. It's always been my personality. I've been direct like this all my life. That's why, if she loses, great, great. If she wins, okay, like I'll make the best of it. I'm not gonna, go crazy. So when it comes to like the character and what was the original question? See,
what do you think you've learned about Kamala as a person from studying her?
The more you look at her, the more you listen to her and how she goes back and forth and never answers the question. Here's the best thing I learned about her. She's not as stupid as she tries to make herself seem. She knows exactly what she's doing. So in the beginning, if you remember, she was very, very cutesy. Almost a word salad. Like, did it make sense? She always talked about loving school buses and Venn diagrams. Like, take it from the person that studied this. She was very, very cutesy, unserious, didn't take anything too seriously. Every time she was on a panel, she made sure she like put in a joke, made everything like she's trying to be relatable. Since she started campaigning, you see the pandering front and center. She's trying to combine it with some ridiculous notion of a personality, right? She panders to the Black people. She sees Spanish people in the audience. Oh, I love you back. Please, no clapping. Please. You know, I can't wait for her to get into Chinatown because I want to see what the hell she's going to pull out of her
I
ass.
saw a clip of her talking about how to make greens. Like she was
Yeah.
talking to this old Black lady, and I was like, oh
Yep.
no.
You got to
I'm
put
like,
them in the
well,
bathtub. My family loves my
Yes!
collard greens. And you
Greens
wash
in
them,
the
and they want so
bathtub.
many of them, you got to wash them in the bathtub. So I can get it in the kitchen. Yeah, I've done so many skits like making fun of her. And it's great because, you know, I love doing like the different accents, and when I do those videos, people realize she's pandering. I don't know how they don't see it before that.
Wow.
I guess we have magic lenses, people that are like studying something, but I'm like to people, how do you not see this? She just pulled out a Jamaican accent out of her ass. How does that not resonate with like, you're trying to make those people like you. You do stuff like that when it's fake, when it's not, you know, if I come into a room with girls, you know how mean girls can be, right? You know how like, there's going to be two types of women. There's going to be the woman that wants to be liked by all the other women just because like, she's like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to play along. They might even say something and she'll be like, yeah, no, yeah, like I agree with that, I guess. You know, like they throw out all their own values to just let that make that person
That's
like
a
them.
very female thing, and it happens sometimes unconsciously. Like women in relationships will sometimes completely
and we
lose
overshare.
themselves.
Like you immediately just want to, you know, that like adult friend or whatever. I stopped doing that shit when I realized how like it's just so toxic to me. Like, why am I pretending to be someone that they might like? The more I act like myself, the more I'm actually able to like, you know, relate to people in those same rooms. Maybe I'm not going to get along with everybody, and that's fine. The libs definitely don't like me. I've accepted that years ago. I am okay with it. You've already had a funeral in my head. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm the other kind of person that's going to, you know, I'll come up to you. We'll talk. I don't think Kamala Harris has that. She's that girl that's going to pretend and agree with everything you're saying and turn around and talk shit about you immediately, as long as she can get something from you. So I look at her as a woman in a feminine way. I've also looked at like when in Pennsylvania, she was like standing in this whole bars, like they're all around her. I don't remember. It was a bar or like a store. And she goes, yeah, I'm just, you know, going to as many cities as I can. And like, she's scratching her leg. And you know, when I'm looking at her, like my son is 12. I'm like to her, you are so full of shit. This is what a child does when they know they didn't do their homework and they're just trying to get out of it. Like, that's what I see her as. She's just so full of shit.
Like,
that's the best
she's
way.
always like this. She's in this constant pop quiz. Like
she's always pretending, and she laughs when she
faking
doesn't
till you
have a
make
good
it.
answer, or when she's trying to pretend she answered the question. And I see it because the people that have asked her the question, they're like, they're not laughing too. They're like, am I going to get more than that? And she goes, well, you got to talk about the modalities. But no, I think that
what the fuck is a modality?
I don't know. She does that. She puts dualities and modalities in her speeches, and she actually confuses, you know, and I don't think that that's by mistake. She also talks about joy. She talks about unburdening what has been. These are all Marxist / like communist ideology slogans. So I'm like, guys, you know, she's not talking about unburdening what has been for shits and giggles. She's actually talking about like, that's what she's trying to put in. And that's how, you know, Stalin and all these other people, this is what they did. And they incorporated it like that by telling people like, we need to bring joy back. We need to stop making you guys worry. We're going to have equity amongst everyone. Like she is a dangerous, dangerous candidate for this country because she's so radical left. Like, listen to how she talks about Israel, no matter where anybody stands on that issue. She actually stands there and goes, what happened to Israel was terrible, but the genocide in Palestine is real. You can't do that. You can't get both of them to vote for you. I don't care if you think you can. You can't. You either have Israel bring back the hostages and you're supporting them because we are their ally, or you're going to be pro-terror because you're not doing anything about the anti-Semitism. You're also still funding them to create more terror. So what fucking side are you on, lady? And it's like, she will say it in the same sentence and she won't bat an eye. And some of the Jews, they gobble it up. And then some of the people that are like, you know, pro-Hamas are like, well, at least she's admitting that the genocide is real. You know, I'm going to vote for her. But I think that that's her strategy, to just try to like lie her way to get whatever, like a ban fracking. We are for fracking. The guns. I have a Glock. But then 3 days ago, it's like mandatory buybacks are a thing. Which one?
Mhm.
You either want to repeal the Second Amendment or you're pro-gun, you're pro-Glock, unless it's rules for you and not for everyone else, which is the Democratic way.
Yeah, I think Kamala learns just enough of what to say and how to say it so that she sounds competent, which is why she really falters in these long form settings, like with Brett Baer you mentioned. And there's, you know,
She was just interrupting him. She knew he's going to say stuff that's going to put her on that hot seat. Listen to what she was telling him. You come on, Brett.
Yes, she kept saying, "Come on, you know what I mean."
What
And
I'm
he's like,
talking
"No,
about.
I don't. I don't know what you mean."
Yeah, he's like, I don't fucking know. I made a whole video of that. And as I was watching it, I'm like, is she for real? And she was getting mad. And she just kept on saying it like, no, come on. You know what I'm talking about. You know, the people that are up there with me know what I'm talking about. Like, why don't you say what you're talking about instead of how everyone else knows and we're the only ones in the room that don't know? Because you don't know what you're talking about. So she does this thing that narcissists do, and she gaslights and projects a lot. So when I study her, I'm just like, listen to what she's saying. It's her administration that is actually responsible for doing that. So she left the border wide open, and she sits there and still blames Donald Trump. And it's like, but what about you, bitch? You're here now. And she goes, it's a conversation that we need to have. Look, I was there for a photo op. And it's like, okay, yeah, you were. And then we found out that you didn't even let the plane off the ground to deliver those supplies that you did that photo op for. So you went to the border.
Cow.
Yeah, completely fact checked, by the way. You went to the border. You did a photo op. You pretended like you were going to go and send help for Hurricane Helene victims. And those two aviators came out, did an interview and said, well, we were actually ordered to not let that plane off the ground. So you did it not only for optics, but if you did it, why not let it get off the ground? Are you here to just destroy America? What is your agenda here, lady?
Wow. Yeah, it's like she memorizes just enough talking points to get her through short
And they
bits.
let her just talk long enough to show her face, to make her feel kind of exclusive. Like, you were in entertainment. You know how it is.
Yep.
You know celebs can't come and hang at the party for everyone to like, look at Jay-Z fucking hides Beyonce under the fucking table in their like, you know, third room floor. Because did you hear her when she used to do interviews? She was too likable, too relatable. She was too like cutesy in Texas. She wasn't that bright. I don't think she finished school.
Beyonce?
So many moments that she had that she was like, what? What's she trying to say? So he kind of like kept her and made her this like image. And it's 101, like PR 101. That's what they're all probably doing. That's what they're doing. But yet you got Trump over here free balling it for hours on every podcast he can get on.
Great at improvising. Great. Yeah, he can just talk like because he's so smart. He has the experience and he's genuine and he can back up everything he says.
And
he
funny,
can
and he's
He can be
relatable.
off the dome for hours. Yep, he's a real person, even though he is a millionaire and as a successful businessman. It's like, yeah, and he'll get behind a fryer and not be condescending about it.
Exactly, and that's
be
exactly
genuine.
what he proved. And that's why they're pissed off, because Trump's genuinely a guy's guy. You know, I actually had the privilege of being in Mar-a-Lago last year for Halloween. That was really fun. He was there with Melania, but he was also with his in-laws. And they were kind of like, you know, sheltered like by Secret Service. It was like ridiculous. Like I kept on trying to come in, and Secret Service was like, where the fuck are you always going? I'm like,
wow,
I'm here to talk to Don. All right, I'm here for Don. And one of the Secret Service guys was actually like, finally, Kamala made her way to Mar-a-Lago. And I'm like, you know who I am? And he's like, yeah, I follow you.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yes, I had like this like moment, but I was invited like as a guest, and then we did like a quick little, we did our own little skit. I actually came with the Biden administration. It was really funny. I like met a bunch of people there, and we had a great time. It was a phenomenal party. Trump was the DJ the whole time. I mean, he had an iPad in front of him. He was picking all these bangers, and I'm like,
hold on, I have a playlist for this.
Yeah. And I'm like, I want to drive around with him on West Palm Beach because he listens to the same classics that we all do. He was like sitting there doing the thing. Every single one of the members there, I was having side conversations with, like I was just mingling, you know, whatever. They would all say like, he is so loved. He is so loved. And this is not just his like close friends. These are members of the club. These are people that like, you know of him. They talk about how generous he is all the time. This is not a side of Trump that people unfortunately see or hear of even. And it's very easy to forget. I'm sad to admit that I was one of the people when he first started running, I want to say, that I felt like Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura with an arrow in each leg because I hated Hillary. But I'm like, come on, is this the best we can do that's not a politician? Are you kidding me? The Apprentice guy? But he won my heart over, over the years. And I realized like he's a typical New Yorker, which first of all, I'm obsessed with. I was raised
Yep.
here basically. He's just such a people's person. And I don't give a fuck how mean he is. That's
can talk to
just
anybody.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Go into any setting, go into a surgical unit. They actually prepare you and tell you that the surgeon is going to have an authoritarian dictatorship when there's an emergency, because we don't have fucking time to sit here and say, who wants to take the blood?
Right.
Who wants to do the intubation? No.
Ooh,
You
I
have
don't
one
want to touch
person
the
in
blood.
charge. Yeah. But you have one person in charge that says, you get over here, you do that, you do that, you do that. We're here to save a life. It's the same thing for a pilot. It's the same thing in a Marine situation, or, I'm sure in the Army. Nobody's worried about being polite. You want the guy that's the most qualified. And we have a cackling hyena here who's talking about bringing joy with fucking Tim Waltz hopping around like a pony on stage. The seriousness has left this administration, but she gets on stage every chance she gets and talks about Trump is a very unserious candidate. And it drives me wild. She actually projects, this is what narcissists do, every single thing that she is responsible for doing. She is the unserious candidate. She is the one that's talking about joy in one segment, and the next day yelling behind the presidential seal about he doesn't have the right to ever get behind this seat never again.
Yeah.
So her campaign is all driven through hate. And I, love conquers. And I think that he's doing so well recently that I'm afraid of what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to, you know what I mean?
Know.
Like, it's almost like we are all in such a climatic event without the actual climax feeling good that we don't know. We don't really know how we're going to feel. Hopefully, nothing happens. I don't want to manifest that, but what do you think, Chrissy? Like, I think about it every day.
I think about it every day too. And everything's looking better and better for him. He's making all the right moves. Like, he did such a good job just in the last few years of calming down the parts of his personality that I feel like the left could easily target.
100%.
Calm down.
He was
like
a Rottweiler. Yep,
the
exactly.
mean tweets part of his personality. And I don't know if that's due to him getting older or he's just got better
Well, sometimes
advisors around him.
It still comes out sometimes. He was at the rally the other day and he's like, she's a shit vice president. Like, he just couldn't even hold it in. But that's what people relate to as well. He's frustrated.
That's a real person. Yeah.
That's a real person. That's how we all feel. And she is a shit vice president. Sometimes, like on the occasional boring day, and I never engage with like the morons, but there's going to be a comment that I see. And it's not that it's going to trigger me, but it's almost like, I know that this is not going to get into this person's skull. I know that they're not going to accept it for what I want them to accept it, but I'll sit there and I'll type out a tweet or whatever it is. And I say, when she was in California, she worked on 164 pieces of legislation during her tenure. Not one was passed. She literally is one of the few that did nothing in her entire political career.
Oh, how is that even possible?
So you can't even name an accomplishment by this woman. You can only name failures. You can only name projects she maybe started on and never finished. What happened to the electric school buses? They took like millions of dollars and only built 6. No one's even holding them accountable for all that money.
Miss Frizzle is to blame for that not working.
Yeah, she probably drove up the magic school bus to Joe's ass and it's stuck up there.
You know what I didn't realize is that her whole joy shtick, that was a Marxist tactic.
It's a communist thing. Yeah. Joy. They talk about that all the time. So like I always say, like, you know what? She's not just saying nonsense. She's genuinely saying the stuff that she's been brainwashed to say or fed. But she is radical left at the end of the day. And she's probably she was voted the most radical senator.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the complete opposite of where most of the country feels. But libs are going to vote for her because it's as long as it's not Donald Trump. And that's a very scary thing.
It is scary. And this is the most radical leftist ticket we've ever had. Tim Waltz. I mean, if you've heard where he stands on abortion, and I mean, he is for like the latest possible, I think, it's like something really disgusting and bothersome that, like, I don't know if it's like 9 months, but he also, his idea of, like the alphabet gang mafia, he also wants to include, like PDF files, on the sexual spectrum, that sort of thing. That's where that's his belief system. So it's like, okay, yeah, you guys are all whacked out.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see, like, especially with Trump going to he's at McDonald's, he's just doing so much. It seems like he is like really crushing it. Polls are in his favor. He's he's doing really, really well. And I have friends who are not political going, I don't see how he can't lose. And it's like, okay, it makes me really nervous for what they're going to try
For sure,
next.
because listen, at the end
But
of the day, they didn't think he'd win in
they didn't think
2016.
he would live. They didn't think he would still be alive at
And
this
this
point.
time they didn't think he would live, which is exactly what I was going to say. So we don't know what's up their sleeve. I just know that it's like they know they're in such deep shit for the retribution that he will bring upon them if he wins, that things are happening as we speak behind closed doors. You know what else? It's like crazy. She said something to that guy that yelled out, Jesus is Lord. And she said, you're at the wrong rally. Like with what brain did she say that with? You got to look at this woman and think like, that's not even a stupid thing to say. That's a satanic thing to say. I'm Jewish. I'm proudly Jewish. Why would you mock the Lord like that? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you even push Christians away like that? And then the Catholics with the fucking, that movie that, what's her name? Molly.
Oh, yeah. Mary Catherine Gallagher.
So
She
you
was,
didn't come to the dinner because you're a chicken shit, because Trump would have probably, ripped you apart and you wouldn't be able to keep up. So you did this fake SNL skit. This is what I don't understand with voters. How do they not see this? Like, her level of devotion is not even there. It's not there. She does not care. She's doing it to check it off of her book. Yeah. Every time she gets up from an interview, she buttons up her jacket and she goes, thank you, walks the fuck away. Like, you could feel it from her, like, oh, thank God that shit's over. Like, I wish people would see how nasty she probably is behind closed doors. What, like 74% of her staff quit the first year. What is that telling people? Everyone is so hyper-focused on Trump being like a tough guy and having expectations and boundaries. Look at what she did. She just gave Jean-Claude Van Damme Pierre a promotion.
Yeah, she can't enjoy what she's doing. And it just makes a lot of people mad because you're like, she ran the worst possible, like when she ran in God, what was it, 2020? Like, she was the least popular.
Exactly.
And yet here she is, like, thinking she can be president. It's really scary, but people have such a short memory, and she's just so full of shit. And I think that Bret Baier interview really opened up a lot of people's eyes, because he kept her to task. He kept saying, like, no, she has all her shtick about, let's be unburdened by what has been. He's like, no, you're what has been. You have been a part of this administration the last 3.5 years. Like, you are part of why the 79% of people think this country's going in a shitty direction. You know what I'm
talking about. And
she's like, it's because she actually said it's because Trump has been running for 10 years. And that was her answer.
Yeah, when I heard that, I'm like, sometimes, like, people say to me, like, what you said, did it make sense? I'm like, I actually just verbatim, stole her speech, wrote it down, and repeated it so that you can hear how that didn't make any sense. And they're just like, she really said that? Like, there's some people that didn't catch the interview, like, I expect everyone to see it because it's all over my feed, but, most people, sometimes they're not seeing it. And when I saw that moment, it's like, you could see she's stumbling. And we saw also a very, very, very unhinged version of her on that interview when she started, like, getting out of her seat. She was like, this is a democracy. And when she got the crazy eye look, I saw every lib I've ever come across on social media. I kid you not. Her
movements were bad. Yeah,
her movements were bad. She kept on moving in the chair, and he actually sat there like this. Like, I think he loved that he got her off kilter. I mean, it's a journalist's dream probably, to really, really affect them like that. But she's just a disaster. I just don't understand how she has all this campaign money. I saw today Valuetainment posted that she raised $1 billion. $1 billion. That's a problem for the next 2 weeks. I'm not going to lie. But, we shall see. That's the part of it that makes me nervous. I think Trump raised like $274 million. That's genuinely on a smaller scale, and he has real patriots, real middle class probably donating to him, some billionaire friends. But
here's my last $10. I think in the beginning when they first put her on the ticket and switched, I think they maybe bullied a lot of Biden's PACs to switch their donations over to her.
They had to. They had no other choice. That's probably why she remained on the ticket. I was like reading stuff that said, you have to keep her on the ticket if you want to use that campaign money, because she's on Biden's ticket. So you can't, and that whole thing of taking him out, putting her in, I don't think that they expected Trump to survive. So that's why we see the scrambling and we see the last minute, like, put togethers of the interviews and the campaigns, because listen to CNN bragging about how she's the Democratic nominee. She doesn't have to debate. She doesn't have to do this and that. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, you're talking to us about being threats to democracy, where you guys are the ones that are just like, dictating literally what's going to happen in the next 4 years. It's crazy.
Mhm.
So yeah, but
It
we'll
is so
see.
crazy. We got a couple super chats from Oceania. Estee really is the whole package. Aware, beautiful, and funny AF. Great guest.
Thank
I
you.
agree. Thank you. Patriotic Gestalt. Great interview. Thank you for the orange boy. Oh my gosh, it's so interesting. And I was thinking a lot about what you said before about I don't know why. I think it's a comedian's job. Like, even if you're just reading her speech, people can hear how truly
Oh
ridiculous the
yeah.
things she's saying are. But it's our job as comedians to like really observe and exaggerate. And and you're taking somebody under a microscope when you do that. And I think people can see because they're not looking at you as a presidential candidate and they're not trying to like parse through what it is you mean. They can hear what you're exaggerating and go, oh, that's just a little bit off of what she's actually doing and saying, and it
Yeah.
makes things more clear. Like, yeah, a comedian's job is to entertain, of course, make you laugh, make you forget about your problems. But
Yeah,
sometimes,
sometime last year I was on Gutfeld and Tyrus was like, I'm sick of seeing like the clips of this girl. No offense to her, but it's like Kamala is a
you?
parody of herself. Yeah, he was just kind of like, Kamala is already like the parody. We don't need to even have a guest on the show pretending to be her. She's a joke. She presents herself in that same way. And I'm like to myself, like, he's right. He's not wrong. Even when I exaggerate it, it's like, that's probably something she would say, or that's the way she would, internalize it. So it's fun stuff putting these people under a mic.
I think we do need someone like you to do, because how many people can do a Kamala impression? Like, she's so it's very particular and it's
It
like
is, yeah.
kind of
It's a
subtle in a way.
specific.
And not a lot of people can do a Trump impression. A lot of people can do a bad Trump impression, but like I don't see people attempting even a Kamala impression. It's like
I've seen some. I've seen a handful, not a lot. I've definitely seen some climb out of the woodwork now. I like to think I'm one of the few that has a lot of creativity with it. Not to like, I'm not, patting myself. I kind of use it to poke fun at her. But I've seen some really vanilla impressions that are just kind of, pretending to be her, like verbatim saying what she would say if they were like in a store or whatever. But there are some good impressionists out there. There's actually one, she's a comedian, Veronica Mosey, who I don't know if she's even a big comedian, but I saw her impression. It was so good that I reached out to her. I'm like, we need to do a video together because go check her out on Instagram. And Veronica, like, shout out to you. But it was just so good. So I want to give her the shout out because she doesn't get like
enough love.
She doesn't get enough love. And I've seen other impressionists get so much more love. And I'm like, this is not up to my par at all. Like this girl's actually really good. So I can't wait to drop that video. I'm currently working on it now, but it's really good. The voice is good. And she's funny with it. She's like me. She's like me. So I love to see people get creative with it. If you're going to do it, like, she's already a jackass. I don't want to hear how she's a jackass. Like I study her speeches already, but if you really can nail like the inflection and she gets so creative with it, it's really, really funny. So kudos to her if you want to check her out. But yeah, I will agree with you. I've had so many Trump impressionists reaching out to me. If some of you are listening, I'm sorry, there's only one of me. But I've met a few. I've met Ty, Sean Farish. I would love to work with Shane Gillis at one point or another. I think he's hysterical.
Shane is great.
Shane's like, he's the GOAT. But there's so many. Austin Nassau reached out. We might do a video together soon. So it's fun. It's fun stuff.
This was great. Yeah, you were recently on Gutfeld with my boy Tyler Fisher. This is just a little bit from your guys' interaction in the dressing room.
We're gonna make America strong again. We're gonna make America brave again, and we are. Excuse me, what a nasty woman. Of course, Kamala. Camel Toe is trying to.
Kamala.
Camel Toe is trying to take my notes.
I don't need your speech.
She's the border czar. Suddenly, you want to close the border, right? Because I don't like the border.
Speaking.
Yeah, you're speaking in a terrible tone, and you're trying to assassinate me with that vocal fry. Frankly,
I did no such thing.
That laugh could assassinate somebody.
Why do we have to share a room for hair and makeup? This is ridiculous.
Because the budget cuts, because of inflation. This is because of you. We have to share a dressing room. Think of it on the debate where I'm going to annihilate her, right? I'm going to annihilate her.
The fix is in.
The fix is in.
What a nasty one. What a nasty woman. She's the snake from my prom.
You're like
You
a
know my prom.
cartoon.
Take me in,
We like to
Disney.
improvise this whole
Take
thing.
me
It
in,
was
oh,
so
heaven's
good.
sake. Take me in,
Wow,
that woman
that's
cried.
awesome.
This part killed me. You can see I broke character.
There's the
because
snake.
There's
Do
the
you
snake.
want a
Good.
snake
I could have.
leading your country?
I like seeing
Think
people
of
break
it. We love
character.
diversity. The first retarded hyena, right? There's your diversity. Sad.
I heard that.
Shh, I'm speaking. Sound familiar? Sound
That's
familiar?
my line. You see, who's stealing lines now?
She's gonna be in jail.
Security?
She's gonna be in jail. Lock her up.
Oh, it's so good.
It
Oh,
was
so
so fun.
good.
Yeah, we had a great time. He's so talented. Ty, if you're watching, love you.
Yeah.
Love meeting you. But yeah, he's so talented. He does great other impressions too. So I'm like really,
Oh yeah.
I'm in a weird place because I don't have professional acting skills or like training, but I know I can probably do other impersonations, but I can't, like, it just keeps coming back to Kamala because I've just done it so long that I need to like erase her. So we will see in 2 weeks if you're going to keep hearing this, it's because unfortunately she won and I just got to ride the wave and do it for the American people, you know, while we're up to our
If
knees and
she
shit
wins,
because
you know, the country's going to do really poorly the next 4 years, but you personally will do great. If Trump wins, I would say you have I don't know, you could maybe do it for another 6 months. Probably maybe
yeah, but
longer.
it's
People
not
aren't gonna
the
forget.
brand that I want. That's what I want to get across.
Yeah.
Like, listen, I'm doing this for the people at this point. If I had an option, I would absolutely stop this. It's for me, it's like, you know, but I have to do my part. I feel like this was given to me, like, to expose her, to talk about this, because I have the capability to discuss these issues or whatever.
Yeah.
But if I could expose her, and if this makes even 1 or 2 differences, then like I have done my job. I really feel strongly about her not winning. It would be really bad for everybody, for the world, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is your job to expose her. I think a lot of people, you can reach a lot of people through comedy that
Exactly.
that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to. And yeah, just politics is just
It's a dirty game,
kind of,
darling. It's a dirty game.
it's a
Yeah.
dirty game. It's like sometimes it's hard to get into, hard to understand what the hell they're talking about. Good night, Mister says, Estee, keep kicking A and taking names.
Thank you.
A lot of love in the chat.
And guys,
Estee,
if you're watching, please subscribe to my YouTube.
yes.
Follow me. You see it on the banner. Mommy RN88 across the board. And if you really like listening to like the Kamala impression, I am on the Mean Show 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's exclusively only on Twitter/X, 10:30 a.m. If you're on Pacific time, you can listen to us on the way to work, or you can check back on the recordings. But it's a really good time. Me and Sean just terrorize each other, and he's usually always, you know, he's such a powerful Donald Trump character. He always screams over me, and we have so much fun with the audience in there. It's insane. We have people coming up like roasting me. I start yelling back at them. We had this like British woman come in yesterday. It was insanity. It was so good. I kept on calling her J.K. Rowling. It was just great. She's like, "Fuck you, Kamala," and I'm like, "Listen, J.K. Rowling, get the hell out of here. Go back to the UK." And she's like, "No, well, I bloody won't." And she had like that. She really had like the deep accent. It was hysterical.
Oh wow, that's so good. Yes, everybody watch the Mean Show Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Twitter at 10:30 a.m. Eastern with Sean Parrish, who's another hilarious Trump impressionist. Good night, Mr. Estee for Lady Liberty 2025. Accident Seller. I involuntarily do the Tim Waltz Deer in Headlights VP debate impression whenever I forget to delete my browsing history. I'm so good at that.
Imagine what that looks like.
Thank you guys. Wow, that's so interesting. Because when I listen to Kamala, I think when she laughs, it's to move things along. It's like, here's what I'm doing to make you think I'm a fun, like easygoing person, but it's so we can like, she's trying to cleanse.
It's a great conversation jumper. It is a smart tactic when you're in conversation with people and you maybe want to break the ice. We've all probably done it at one point or another. She does it in the most weird scenarios, and it doesn't make sense when she does it, where she's doing it. You know, like when she was early on asked about the border, right? Like a year after ignoring it, I remember. And he asks her, and she goes, "And I haven't been to Europe," right? And I think that she laughed because she got so condescending that she forgot herself. And then she laughs it off and she goes, "Yeah, I don't understand your point, right?" But anyway, look, you know, I have other priority. And then she like gets into the like, It's not funny. You haven't been there. No one cares that you weren't in Europe.
It's your job to be there. Yeah, no one cares about Europe.
But unfortunately, we do have a lot of Americans that probably look at their screen and they listen to their, TV teleprompters. That's Kamala's job. But when they listen to their TVs, they are kind of just accepting whatever she says for whatever.
Right, they go, well, I haven't been to Europe either. That's a good point.
It's insane to me. Yeah, but like I know a lot of people that take her word for what it is. Like I tried to have a decent conversation with somebody that I used to work with. She actually had reached out because she saw me on Gutfeld. So this was a recent thing. And we started talking. She's like, listen, I just want to tell you, like, this is so amazing. I can't believe you went from the bedside to this. How long have you been doing this? So we did the whole yada, 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 yada. And then, she goes, so I take it from your cadence and your tone, you don't support her. And she's like, and that's fine, but don't tell me you're voting for Trump.
Oh, come on.
And I'm like, man, I really thought that this was going to be a conversation where me and you can just catch up in a healthy way. And maybe you could send me some of the pictures of your kids and I'll send you some of mine.
This was an old friend of yours?
This was an old friend of mine that I actually met when I was at that hospital. We were really close when we worked there. It's been years. It's been probably like 7 years since I've been there. So we got into this conversation and I'm like, look, we're going to get into an argument right now because you're not going to like anything I have to say. I'm absolutely voting for Donald Trump unapologetically. What is the alternative? What is the alternative? And she goes, well, what's your issue with her? What's like your number one issue with her, basically? And I'm like, look, there are a lot of issues with her, but and I know that friend, it lives in Long Island and is huge on the Second Amendment, which doesn't make any sense for me.
What?
Yeah, she's huge. She has guns. Her husband has guns. And I'm just like, so let's not talk about me for a second. I'm like, you do know that, and you know what she answers to me? She answers to me, Kamala just said on TV, she has a Glock. And she's one of those, unfortunately. She's like the Long Island.
No.
She goes, what do you mean she has a Glock?
I'm from Long Island. It's embarraing sometimes. Like
it is embarrassing.
Long Island are red, but sometimes
I'm right off Long Island. I'm not that far away from them, but I went to inner city public school. So sometimes I have like a Blackanese accent. It's insane. It just comes out. But Russian native, I speak a few languages. But when it came to that conversation, someone that was genuinely educated, very smart girl, I worked bedside with her, would trust her with my life, if anything. Sometimes you just got to understand that it's just two different perspectives. What she feels is right, we feel is wrong, and the complete opposite is the truth. And that's what she was telling me. She's like, well, I personally have listened to her, and I feel like she's bringing warmth and compassion. He was divisive. I'll never forgive him for January 6th. And I'm like, all right.
Oh, come on.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, we have nothing to talk about. There's no way I'm going to get into this with you. I'm like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Thank you for reaching out anyway. And she wasn't done. She was like, no, I want to get this out. And I'm like, no, fuck you. You're not going to get it out. You just want to shit on what I'm doing because you knew that I'm not for her. You had to call me and tell me how you felt. You thought that it was going to make me feel like low. You thought that you're going to condescend to me. You are an asshole for voting for her, and you will kill yourself when you're probably 65 remembering this one decision. Like, you're going to be that person that cringes every time you remember that you once voted for her, if we're still alive at that time. I'm like, you're not going to shame me into my choice. Am I shaming you for your choice? No, right. I don't understand it. I never will. But you're the one trying to convince me that I'm doing something dangerous for the country by voting for Donald Trump. So the conversation went so dark, so quick. And I was like to myself, Esther, this is why you don't engage. This is why I concentrate on the family. My kids are my buddies, because I'm like to them, what do we not do? And my little one is 5.
Liberals.
Goes, we don't eat cats and dogs. And I'm like, very good. As a joke, I don't get them into the politics of it, but those are my people, my family, my community. We're very pro-Trump around here where I live, but most of us work with people that are not pro-Trump because we're in New York. It's a blue state. And I have this conversation with them all the time where they're like, how are you so open about how you feel? I'm scared. I'm like, stop being scared because that's bullshit. You have to be loud and proud. It has to be too big to rig. There's a reason why people say that. We have to all showcase our support. And I unapologetically tell people, I even said to you this, I will probably be the only person that benefits if she wins. And even I don't want that. I do not want that. I don't want that. Will it be lucrative? Sure. I mean, I already have my luxury wallpaper. There's only so much shit you can buy. Yeah. I'm okay with living the middle class. I like middle class, So
who's been I guess maybe the most famous person to reach out to you since your viral success, either most famous or like most pleasantly surprising person, I guess.
Most famous. There was definitely a bunch of stuff. So like I can't just pick one, but I know Cat Williams liked the one that you showcased with Kamala brainstorming. He liked that on Instagram. I was like beside myself. I ran around my house. I
Wow.
screenshot it because, like, to be recognized by him is like everything. He's an incredible comedian, and he's also very awake to like the Hollywood, that stuff. So I love him. Eddie Griffin reposted on X Dan Scavino, which is Trump's senior advisor. So it makes me feel like, oh my God, he probably showed this to them. Like, yo, have you seen this chick, right? Jeremy Piven has reposted like my lip syncs of him doing Entourage, but like a bunch of people. I know Jordan Peterson's like staff reached out. We were supposed to do something. I love him. I'm personally a big fan of all of the Daily Wire. Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro did like a reaction video out of me teaching him how to do the cackle correctly. So many big names in entertainment, like the podcasters and all of them. Nick DiPaolo, I did a few shows with him. He's great. I love like getting to know him. He's a really, really nice guy. There's probably a bunch of there's even a few names that like I didn't know how big they were. Dinesh D'Souza, I did an ad for him. I did a video for him. He's awesome. He's a filmmaker.
Dinesh is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
So definitely like the path. Oh, Glenn Beck, I did his show. Just so many big names, in Blaze. I did a show on the Alex Jones show, but not with Alex. I think me and him. I'm the female Alex. I think me and him would just. We would lose like the network
too
connection.
much.
It would so be too much. We'd be interrupting each other, and I'd be jumping up out of my seat, like, "Yes, the water's making the frogs freaking gay. I knew you were right out." But yeah, a lot of names, a lot of people. It's just been an experience. Right. Really nice to meet the people in the industry that are unapologetically funny about everything that's going on too. It gave me like the boost that I needed because I was like this loner that like, should I post this? Is this okay? I'll delete it if it's not doing well. Now I'm like, F you. This is the post. I'll even tag Kamala sometimes. Like, hey, bitch, here you go. I did another one just for you.
How could she not have seen your impression by now?
I think she's seen it. They hate me. Vanity Fair wrote about me. They didn't say anything mean, but they mentioned that I was one of the people being considered to possibly, be an impressionist for her. And there was 2 other impressionists, but they picked Maya Rudolph anyway. But in the little excerpt, they wrote like, she has more of a mocking vibe. And then like, end quote. Okay. Yeah. Of course I do.
She sounds mocking. She's condescending just without trying.
Yeah. Wow. So.
I'm just, you're the best. I'm such a fan, Estee. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. You've got loads more impressions in you. This is just the beginning. And,
well, listen, we never know. My husband said, like, listen, when the kids get older, we'll see. Maybe we'll all go on tour, but nothing's off the table. For now, it's not going to be like there's no Kamala tour. Sorry to upset the fans. It's not happening. I have to cook dinner.
All your kids had to do the cackle. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's good stuff. Listen, I met a beautiful community of patriots. I have like I'm very close to like, they DM me all the time. Like we talk like, about the present situation. They tell me about their fears. Like, hey, you bring so much levity to this. So happy we have you on our side. Like I too am here going to be living under this, regime. We're all people. We all kind of bring something different to the table. So I just love that I was able to make these connections. I didn't even really know what was out there. I wasn't big on social media. I got married young, had a bunch of kids. I was busy working. I got into this, in my 30s. So for me, I'm just like, okay, I'll see what happens with it,
Yeah. No, good for you. You're the best. Everybody, I know you got to run. Everyone follow Estee on Twitter. And she's got the same handle on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. It's MommyRN88. And obviously check out The Mean Show on Twitter. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10:30 a.m. EST with Sean Farish. Estee, thank you for coming on. You're the best.
Thank you so much for having me,
and just if Kamala could leave us with some parting words, something inspirational, that would be great.
I do actually have a little something prepared. Ladies and gentlemen, as we gather here today in holy matrimony, it's essential to, recognize the multifaceted challenges of said matrimonies across our community. Okay. And the conversation around drugs, it's not just about policy. It's about people and families within said matrimonial communities. So, just like I told Brett Baer, you know what I'm talking about. You should know just based off that little glimpse. You know what I'm talking about. I know that you know that I know you know we know. Brett is the only one that doesn't know. Okay. So, in this moment, let us remember that the war is not about indigenous homeland security and policy, but it's rather about the people and what they can bring and do for us, not about what we can do for them.
Well, I could have said it better myself.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense, and that's the point.
The people.
Love you.
Yeah, the people. It's about the people.
Thank you for having me,
chat.
Chrissy.
Thank you, chat, for your comments and questions. Thank you, Estee, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.